presentation.
Yeah, I could do that, and then please just support me, Robert, for example. But yeah, we did not didn't it didn't feel like we were discussing and talking and tried out stuff and came up with like a little, not a recommendation, but things we should think about.
Yeah.
So first of all, Zoom, for many, Zoom is a relatively new thing, and for some, even though it's for experience for 2 3 months, we can feel like it starts to work better and better. But it's always about what is a weak point here. So internet can give us that, even though we can produce a good sound, if the internet is not good enough, then there will be a lot of holes in the sound and a lack of quality where Zoom will try to survive, but the sound can be too poor. So it's like really vital to start with what comes first: a computer that works good and wired internet connection that is fast enough. That's a starting point. Actually, more important than type of microphone, you could say. But when that is solved, um, there's a recommendation. If you are sitting back home with no mic, and you would like to just do something that is a bit better than just what you have built in, then this one is like recommended for around 100 euros. It's a USB mic from the brand Rode. So it sounds fairly okay, and you can plug in your earphone, and then it will record what's in the room much better than the built-in mic from the computer. More high-end recommendations. There is this audio interface that is RME with a cousin called Apollo. They're quite, same, but a bit different. So then we talk about maybe 700 euros per unit. But for example, it goes with the feature that for sound improvement, you can activate, for example, in the RME, a software mixer like this that goes with the mixing or the audio interface, where you can loop back. We talked about the loop back because then you know that everything, all of the sounds that you have on your computer will be routed into the Zoom meeting. So you can connect a lot of inputs, and then via loopback, it will go into left and right. That actually, as far as we know in the panel here, Zoom is not very flexible. So if you, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, or if we are wrong, but it seems that most of the audio interfaces will be recognized, and Zoom will only accept input 1 and 2. There can be exceptions, but as far as I can tell from my own experience and from people that I talked to and a lot of research, then a recommendation is to like produce your sound on a mixer. It could be analog. It's actually a fast way to do it. And then route it into a sound card left and right, and then Zoom just get the left and right input, and then you have full control on whatever you want to put into Zoom. It can be done in many ways, of course, but you could say a minimum could be an investment of a USB mic so that the sound is better than just with a built-in microphone or the headset. And then to step up, there are a lot of nice ways to do it. For example, Focusrite is nice, but Malu that sang to us, she actually experienced the problem that she had like 2 mics and a piano, and when she routed it into Zoom, only the first two channels was available. So she also had to find a way for the loopback function, but that's doable. So to improve the sound, of course, is like in any other studio or a live session, everything counts. First of all, your music, then the type of microphone, the type of instrument, and the distance to the mic, so that you really see it as like a production. You're going to produce something that is going to be streamed, in this case through Zoom, but exactly the same through Lola or whatever. I mean, what if you want something nice to get out, you really have to put something nice into the audio interface, of course. So it's like be really critical about what kind of mic for what kind of use. Minimum this USB mic if you have nothing else. You could say to an overall performance. Also, the camera I talked about, I believe matters, that you invest in some kind of a step up webcam with the zoom function. And I like Logitech because it's not too expensive, and I actually think that it looks quite well. And then you can add a filter to it, just like you can add an audio. You can produce the audio sound. So you could say that you could consider it as like two tracks for success, that both audio and the visual also counts. And then I think Robert from Sweden could tell us about something called audio movers, because it sounds very interesting. For example, because with this loopback function you can use or share sound. You can actually share sound from, for example, Logic in your DAW. You can route the sound from the output in the Logic into the audio Zoom audio engine, so that you hear the sound from Logic as well. But it's not as good as the original sound from Logic, of course, because it's going to be compressed and put into this. But then Robert had a solution. So please, Robert.
Thank you. Yeah, we have probably many of you as well, like working with music production and maybe like a mixing session or something like that. And if you do that through Zoom, it's going to be impossible to get the full experience of that audio when it goes through Zoom. But a colleague of mine find a plugin. I can share screen and I can show you online. This company, they're called Audio Movers, and a plugin called Listen To. So what you can do is you put that on your master channel, master bus in your DAW, and it generates a link that you can send to your students. And in a web browser, you can get that stream back from Logic. And we tested it yesterday, and it sounded really good. You get back like a ACC compression, and it was like 320 kilobits, but it sounded way better than through Zoom. So in certain cases, working with music production and things like that, it could be really helpful. It's a subscription license, so you can pay for a week. I don't remember the pricing, but it was fairly good priced for what it does. So it could be something to check out if you need.
Thank you very much. And that was also the end of our story here, Eero.
Thank you. And there is one thing which is nice in these systems, that when you raise your hand, it doesn't get tired. Mantautas, you had a raised hand, but it disappeared. Did you have something to comment?
I just wanted to mention that there is this software solution for virtual audio cabling. There are several of them. One costs a bit, but it's very comfortable. It's called Loopback, actually. So if you have any other sound card, not RME, which indeed has hardware built-in loopback possibility, you can use software virtual audio cable. There are, jack is also another solution, but it's actually quite a bit quirky with interface. People want to use simple things, so loopback is a good solution. In there you can connect whatever you want and output it just to Zoom. Zoom just takes loopback 1 and 2 as input, and you can attach their microphone, you can attach another microphone, Logic, video from iTunes or whatever, and mix them as you want. So that's maybe also useful.
Thank you. Now, if we go to the group B, then it would be Paolo and you, Mantautas. So we have a guest take the speech now.
Yes. Thank you, Aro. Yes, we had a nice talk and experience in our group. We started by sharing some general knowledge. I try to share my screen. Probably you know about. Wait a second. Let me close this. I open locally. Yes, here it is. Here we go. So probably you know about this good. What is the? Ah, here it is. Too many windows open. QuickTime, here it is. Okay. So you probably know about this nice research outcome that is a great overview about the tools for for collaboration. And actually, I can also share the link because it is in YouTube. It is in YouTube. Okay, and in here, all of the tools are organized for synchronous collaboration, and there is a presentation of the ones that you can you see my browser now, or you're watching the QuickTime file?
Yeah, seeing the QuickTime, yeah.
QuickTime file. Okay, okay.
Your browser we see, yeah.
Sorry?
We are seeing your browsing.
Yeah, I'm the fastest.
Oh, yes, yeah. So it's a QuickTime video, yeah.
I'm scrolling the QuickTime file, and okay, at the second part of the file there is an overview about the different solutions, and you can also see QuickTime Google Chrome. Okay, stop sharing that. Okay, and there is a different solution for synchronous and asynchronous collaborations. So we have been starting analyzing this file for having an overview, and after that we have also been sharing a recent experience that it was started from Stanford University. They had this series of events. They called the quarantine series, and they look like this. And now I'm sharing again a QuickTime file locally.
Yeah.
There are, in this case, there are 357 musicians from Europe and the US, and they are improvising together. And the solution that they choose to, maybe I can play with low volume a bit.
You're not getting the sound from the...
It's really low.
Okay.
I let you. And what I wanted to underline is the fact that in this case they are using only and exclusively open source solutions. I add them here in the chat. For the sound, they were using Jack Trip. For the video, they were using Jitsi. And these two independent signals were sent to the open broadcasting system, and it was synchronized there, and it was streamed on the network. And it is a fully open source solution. And after that, we have been focusing on the Lithuanian experience. And for that, I think I will give the floor to Manta. I'm not hearing you. Okay.
Yeah, I mute myself somewhere else. So just to summarize, we also have been playing a lot with open source software. We considered Zoom, let's say, with a sound quality which isn't nice enough. Even with original sound and stereo on, it's fine maybe for some instruments, but to listen to orchestral music, for example, or to play it in music history lessons, as well as for some other instruments, it really has some limitations. So we tried some browser-based solutions. First of all, Big Blue Button. The problem there is that they do not have built-in music mode, so to say. But we kind of hacked some of them to turn off auto gain and echo cancellation, and we have been getting some nice results with that. Well, relatively nice. I'll just quickly show maybe that spectrogram thing which I was showing in the session. So now you should see my screen, and down here is the original audio. Up here is the same audio played through Zoom, and in middle is the same audio played through hacked Big Blue Button, basically with the same features as Zoom enabled, with auto gain and echo cancellation off, as well as background noise filtering off. And as you can see, Zoom cuts out pretty much around like 1/3 of spectrogram if you compare it to original, and Big Blue Button cuts out less. And generally it sounds better, but Big Blue Button actually has outdated sound mixing engine which creates more clicks and pops if you are using it on the internet. So now we recently started playing with the same Jitsi Stanford people have been using. They have been using it more for video rather than for audio, but Jitsi is also using Opus codec, which is advanced HTML5 WebRTC codec solution. And it's possible that now, if we will be able to hack Jitsi in the same way we hacked the Big Blue Button, it will be actually maybe even better than Zoom for music. Another problem is, of course, that it's browser based, and a lot of things you have to turn off, not only server side but client side in each client's browser. So you have to either to program it in server, either to do it in some kind of browser plugin. So let's say to have a Chrome or Firefox plugin for musicians, and both of these solutions require some decent amount of time. We'll see if we will do that at all, or we'll find some financing to do that. But for now, we are doing some kind of, let's say, investigations And also another thing, just to add, actually it kind of connects also to the first session topics that we also used in some lectures, which required good sound quality. Actually, YouTube live stream from home. Of course, it's more for one-sided lectures. There is this low latency mode where the stream latency is 4 or 5 seconds. So it's possible to show students something on your screen and have pretty nice quality audio going. The OBS, or Open Broadcast System, which is a software you can download, and you can assemble any kind of media attached to your computer and stream it to YouTube, Vimeo, or any other custom servers or web pages you create. But also these things like Jitsi or Big Blue Button and YouTube, of course, and others. You're also looking how to integrate them within Moodle, something which would be complete solution at the same easy solution at home. And of course, completely lossless solution audio-wise, even for teaching and learning, especially in the same country, could be using Jacktrip. But in case of Jacktrip, you would need somebody who is pretty highly experienced in technology, including network media technology and audio technology. By this I mean that you have to have Ethernet connection, wired one. You have to know how to hack your router to open necessary UDP ports if you want to run Jacktrip server, as well as be able to root things inside of your machine virtually, and at the same time to synchronize your video stream via, I don't know, the same Jitsi or Skype or any other video means, and also be able to delay it, because Jacktrip is just audio solution, so sound will always come first. You would need to delay video accordingly, or there would be desync. Okay, so I don't know, maybe.
Yeah, maybe we can also share this nice initiative that you have in Vilnius concerning the questionnaires for the teachers.
Oh, yes, okay.
Yeah.
I can quickly show that too, if I still have that open. That at the beginning of COVID virus, we created e-learning questionnaire, which we sent out to all of our teachers, and we got 263 responses, which is unheard of. We wouldn't have gotten it if not, I think, a COVID situation, where we also investigated what is their home connection, how fast or slow the internet is wired or wireless connection, as well as would they want to try to teach or not. Are they, what kind of interfaces they are using, how they consider, is their experience and knowledge in using computers, and also distance learning, including video conferencing and e-learning like Moodle. So according to this, we understood that what is also important very much is the ease of use, because we have a lot of teachers who are not, let's say, very experienced in using technology, and we have both teach them, and we have been creating, by the way, video tutorials and other things, and we were trying to create as much as integrated systems as possible. So yeah, maybe there are some questions.
Thank you, Mantautas. All this, there has been a lot of links and details in the chat, and also, of course, everything is recorded, so if something went too fast, I know for me it did, but it's not a problem.
I think our session was recorded, right? So
yes,
I think if anybody is interested in more thorough story of what I've been talking now very fastly, you are welcome to watch it, as well as welcome to contact me.
Yes, very good. I have one question concerning this questionnaire and survey you did. Perhaps lots of different universities made this service. I know we did too. It would be interesting, not now since it's almost summer, but perhaps in the beginning of fall semester to combine a little bit, see the differences. Is there some kind of differences between the answers? Not necessarily go to the raw data of the survey, but a little bit of the results that just came to my mind.
Of course, as we had to do quick decisions, we made a quick look at it
Yeah.
and left, and then made quick decisions and went forward. But now, during the summer, we're planning to analyze them properly and make maybe some kind of articles. So I think that if that summary of the results we would make in English, of course, we would share it with everybody.
Yes.
If you would consider that useful.
Yes, that would be great. I think the New Time project group, that would be interesting to hear about this. Very good. I think we should go forward since we have half an hour time for the wrap up, but I think we can wrap up things quite quickly, so it is not dangerous if we exceed that time, but I think it is important that we keep within the end time limit so that we don't end up for the too much time. So I will briefly go through our group's points where what we discussed. We discussed a lot of psychological aspects in online communication and ended up with 12 points. I know that 12 is not the number you are going to do when you are going to focus. You should do 3 or 3 whatever, but we came up with 12 and I just read them here, and then we got to some kind of conclusion also, which is not, of course, end of it. But first thing about these points we made, first is that in the psychological sense there is clear need for informal contact when every contact is online, where it is not that easy to create that informal platform for just chit chat or something like that. And then the other point, the second one was that working online as a teacher or as a host of meeting, it's more stress. It's exhausting to do that. You can't plan the timetables in the same way as you do when you work in real life. The third point is that dealing with the information overflow with students, with the faculties, is something that is difficult and must be balanced. That you must be part of that information flow, but you can't really do it too much. But also how the information is then taken in is different in different situations. But that was the thing that kept us talking a little bit longer. One point made was that in the situation there is a difference in the psychological aspect, whether you know the people before or whether you get to know them via online. And we have now here nice compilation of both, since some of us know some beforehand and nobody knows everybody beforehand. And now it's kind of works here too, but with the music education, giving lessons, that of course makes a different thing altogether. I think we have examples also already of those, for example, student-teacher relationships where it is totally online from the beginning, and that would be interesting to know if there is some differences in that. Also, fifth point is that with these online solutions, you get into people's personal space in different ways. For example, when you have instrumental lessons for children, you are more connected with the family than perhaps in normal ways of teaching. And here too, we can, when those of us who are in their homes or home studios, we can get a glimpse of that on the background. and that of course adds to this psychological aspects. Sixth one is that it has to do with the corona situation. The speed of the change was so fast that it created a difficult situation, a different situation, which also had psychological effects also. And then one point was it has also psychological connections, is that using these kind of systems, it's always 3D, two-dimensional, not three-dimensional. You don't feel the space, you don't feel the physical presence of the people here, and you kind of imagine it. So that's something to be considered too. And also one question is about group work and isolation. One-on-one teaching is not that vulnerable in online situations as, for example, group teaching, where you rely on communication and interaction between people, and also different ways of interacting, not just talking and making simple gestures. And one thing that also rose to our mind was that our own mental health. How do we cope with this situation where you are constantly being with students and trying to keep them in a good track and in a good humor? How do you deal with yourselves? How do you manage that? And also one point that was also mentioned here before, in the beginning, I think it was Jim who talked about that you don't know what happens on the other side. How is your presentation or your presence felt on the other side with that equipment? Now, when Timo came with video, that's I have a very different connection to that, since it's just the wall behind me, and I know the painting there, even though it's a bit violent painting, but anyway, and it's a room where we are having quite a lot of meetings, so I have a connection to that space, and I can kind of relate what happens on that side. But for you all others, I don't really know, and I don't know how my voice is then taken. And just the simple things like you all see me looking above you while I am looking directly at you, because my camera position is poor, and that creates also psychological effects. The 11th point was that we have to get used to the equipment, and we are in a different ways used to deal with computers, screens, headphones, speakers, microphones, this creates different ways of dealing with it. And also, in all, people react differently on things. Also in this online situation, some flourish because of this, since the group dynamics, for example, are not that dominant in this situation. Some people may kind of blossom when they are dealing, having these online connections, and some may kind of deteriorate. But overall, our summary was that these psychological aspects shouldn't be neglected when we are so concerned with technological things, and also the technological solutions have psychological effects, and very simple solutions may change these psychological effects very profoundly. For example, lifting a camera in front of your screen, where you look into people's eyes, as a sense that we should be aiming at as close as possible for the real thing with the people, with the connection, and just to end up with it is just these solutions we are using here. They are just a tool on our tool palette or toolbox of having music education or communicating with people, and it's a great addition. And when things will probably, hopefully, become more normal, then we can, I think, with more variety, create new hybrid ways of dealing, where we take best tool for every situation. Some situation, this kind of tool is the best, and some situation you should use the other one. But that was our the results of our conversation that could have kept on longer too, but we were in the end, as we said, quite exhausted because of the online communication. If the group wants to add something, be free to do that. And if you have the other ones have some questions or something that like to comment on this, feel free before we move to the next one.
Yeah, if I could just come in there, Eero, just to mention about the information flows as well. That was an aspect that I think we talked at some length about in the group, about not overloading students with information. So it's just something else to throw in there.
Yeah, it's a tricky question, and there is no no rights or wrongs that goes with every situation. It's something that you have to be familiar with the context. Thank you for this, and then we go forward with the group D about the Jamkasam experiments and other music tools for playing together online. Was it so, Thomas? No, it was Dagmi, I think, who had to leave. Now looking at Thomas is here. Yeah. Is it you, Thomas, who will then, or Christian?
Christian, I think.
Yeah, Christian was the host. Do you?
Yeah, I can.
Yeah, the floor is yours.
Short summary, or Thomas can support me if he's there. So, well, we walked through not the Rolls-Royce versions, but below Lola versions available, and we talked a bit around that, and Thomas talked a little bit more about the Jamkasam setup and how that is let's say the difficulties with doing online, or not online, but doing live streaming of it, that you sort of have to have external video because Jamkasam doesn't have it itself and all that stuff. So and then we talked about the different solution, what can the future bring to this. We sort of concluded with that you need some more customers to somebody wants to make a properly user-friendly version of things, because the tools that are now are sort of half made. They're quite difficult to operate and get working properly. And if you want something that's plug and play, you also need the lines that are good enough and all that stuff, but you also need software that are easier to set up, and that doesn't exist today. And we also talked about the new, maybe they get money in Bergen for testing out some more heavy networking and trying out if that's going to help for Lola and other connections also, maybe. And we didn't actually conclude with anything, but we looking forward to what's going to happen forward with different tools. I don't know if you want to say something, Thomas.
No, that's basically what we talked about. we're not there. We need more bandwidth, and it's not the software. Basically, that's the biggest issue. It's the bandwidth and designated best bandwidth to be able to communicate directly, which is what we need to play together.
Yeah, there was a live discussion on chat before lunch about these bandwidths and connection speeds. It's safe there, but it's of course also has these political and economical and also it's issues of not all music institutions seeing that as an important part of their assets, and now probably, hopefully, things will change. In Finland, I would say that not many music schools when they are independent music schools, are well prepared for this, but higher education institutes, being part of bigger universities, have the luxury of kind of having the more efficient network solutions that then now comes to our advantage as it's full. I think that's the case at my university, that the overall development of the whole university has taken care of the bandwidth issues in a way that we in the music department necessarily not have had the clue of doing, and now we are very thankful of that. Let's hope things develop well all over the world with these connection issues, since they are so vital. It comes up with almost every working group that what happens. Even in the psychological group, we talk that when the connection is poor, it has a psychological effect also, makes you feel either angry or frustrated or feel stupid since you don't do anything. Thank you. Is there some questions for this group D? Oh, Ben Redman, please. The mic is, yeah.
There we are, unmuted. Yeah, thank you very much for your summary. I'm very interested in trying to use these low latency audio only solutions. We did a trial at Edinburgh Napier University using Jack Trip in parallel with the Zoom platform for the ordinary sort of, for just the social interaction part of a instrumental music lesson, and then when we came to actually playing together, we used Jack Trip. The thing is that was set up within the institution. I'm just wondering, I'm getting the distinct impression it's not easy to configure these things, same with Jam Kazam for the home user. What's your impression of that? How close are we to making these low latency audio only solutions easy to use for the home user in the same way that Zoom and Skype is?
I would say that Jam Kazam it's pretty close. I mean, you can actually on the audio setup you can choose which channel of your sound card you want to use. Which channel you want to use for talkback. So I mean, it's pretty close to being decent for anyone. And there is actually a video feed in the program, but a very low quality one that doesn't really affect the stream, the sound quality or the latency. It's a sort of a VGA quality video feed. So you are actually in contact with if you want to.
Okay, thank you.
Not bad, no.
Thank you. Let's go forward with group E, Timo and latency.
Okay, it was a really flourishing conversation what we had. Really inspiring group, and actually the latency issue itself, it was a rather controversial subject. And please, the members of the group, please feel free to correct me and add your comments when time appears. So we kind of got agreed that the computers are fast. The network is the problem, especially the commercial networks, because they are designed for downloading, not for uploading. So when we need to send high quality data with lots of stuff, lots of megabytes, it's the commercial networks will never work in a way how LoLa is working in our university networks. And as a result of this notion, we kind of agreed that the pedagogy needs to be developed. And then I have just, before I listed some very simple advices when we are working in commercial networks, but whatever equipment we are. So to use the Ethernet instead of wireless, so be plugged in, and also keep the device in AC power. And if we are on Wi-Fi, it's better to be connected on external antenna directly towards the service provider's link tower. And if there are many many participants in a video meeting, please ask the video be switched off. And also now, as this springtime, many of us have worked at home. So if there are lots of gamers around, so you just need to ask to use another network if possible. That it's also something. And of course, then you can go to internet service provider and buy faster connection. But these were the important points. So the education should be transformed into preparing for digital working opportunities. And we were very, very lucky to have also one student among us. And so it feels that it is absolutely necessary to have media skills part of our curriculum. And well, this is kind of a statement that institutions should reconsider to look forward instead repeating the traditional way of work. So okay, so that we should prepare the curriculum for the society in online as well. And interdisciplinary cooperation would be a wonderful opportunity. So like a collaboration with physicians. So like the in medicine world, like the brain researchers can actually measure what happens in our brains while we are playing. And then there can be some synergies to be found. And then also something, what we have felt that it is necessary to have the opportunity and to be allowed to make mistakes. I mean, what was kind of the feeling that in our higher educational world we have been pushed into pretty efficient world in a way that we should save money and save time and everything, so that it's like there is no space for mistakes and failures. So that should probably try to be changed. And so the curriculum development is needed for the Google society, which probably was meant for the younger generations who are used to be online. And then another thing is that interactive concerts should be developed. Like the audience can give live feedback on performance from musical and quality point of view. And then there was mentioned the New World Symphony example. There is something in Miami, so there you can find material online. And then also some new concepts of how LoLa could be used. For example, student could rehearse a concerto with Lola to get coped with the latency issues. So it's like the thing that always when you play with as an orchestra soloist, there are some physical distance between you and the percussion player, for example. So this can be trained as well in daily teaching work. On Lola you can do recording at the time and see that together with a teacher or student. And then again, it's kind of a brainstorming for new concepts are needed to get further from analog world. So now, so that's what I wrote out. Please feel free to add, correct. Daria, is there something you would like to say?
No, actually, not so much. Well, I agree with the idea of what I said, because there was a lot of talking about the generational difference, and so I asked at a certain point that how can an older generation, and now this is this is a little mean, but how can an older generation teach a younger generation about something in art that has not been done? So I said beforehand that when Picasso went to Lascaux to see the cave paintings, he said, "We have not invented anything new." And I asked that, wouldn't it be now possible, now that we have a kind of a new world, we're not bound by our bodies or anything in this digital world, to create actually really something? And there we had also this mention of having more blendings, for example, with the physicians, with to create really something new, and the search for a new, well, new ways of doing art. So I think that's where the whole thing of the new art and the more blending came from, and and of course that if you're searching for something new, you have to have the possibility to make mistakes, to see if something works or doesn't. So to have more possibilities, maybe for students to do, well, I don't want to say independent research, but some kind of research or in groups to work to see together, for example, the Lola as a system, to see if we can figure out something new to do with it. So, well.
Thank you, Dario. There was a hand raised by Matti. Go ahead.
Yes, thank you. During this afternoon, we have heard that this not face-to-face connection is also can be exhausted, or it demands more the participants, and these feelings are of course true, but we could also have a research project where we actually measure what that does mean. In TAMK we have a project with classical musicians where we measure the heartbeat variation, and one day before concert, during concert, and one day after, how they can relax after the concert. And that is hard data, and we will get lots of real information, not just humanistic something, maybe this is correct or this is not, but while this situation has changed, and all we know that, for instance, school teachers, they have done quite hard work to get this 2 months of the spring through with their pupils or students. Why don't we prove it with data?
Yeah.
Well, Matti, there are people which are doing that. Maybe I mentioned it this morning, maybe only this afternoon. For example, there is a group of neurologists which are exactly studying which are the reaction of the brain in different interaction situations. Doesn't matter which interaction it is. It can be musical, talking, dancing, discussing, whatever, it doesn't matter. And they are exactly doing this. And one of the instruments they use is low, of course, because they can vary the latency. And yes, the paper they write is very medical oriented. If I read them, I only understand that apparently if there is a latency, we use a different section of the brain. It seems the same when I speak my native language and I speak a language which I learned at school. Different areas. And if I am bilingual, because I'm born bilingual, I use the same area. This is what they are interested in, of course. But I think we should go around and look for this kind of research in the other area, because it is happening. Not only for us, but for the business.
Yeah.
If you get tired in a business meeting after 3 hours, you don't do a good job for your company.
Yeah, that is a good point.
So things like this.
Yeah, very good. Dario.
Yes, so that was actually a thing I was wondering more about, the stress not being face to face, because I don't think that, or it doesn't feel that that is the problem. The real problem is when the discussion gets delayed, because we're not used, as human beings, so we are not used to that. When I stand in front of a person, my sound does not get delayed. So it doesn't take me 2 seconds and I only hear partially what the other person says usually, if I don't have a strong hearing aid. So I think the problem, more than researching if the not being face-to-face changes so much, it would be maybe the stress, I guess, would come more from really the latency in the hearing.
Now this one I can confirm. We did the research about this. Well, the actual research was about a different thing. It was, let's try to find out which is the minimal latency a professional musician can detect. And so it was a number of typical medical blind tests. We were changing the latency and asking them, was it better, was it worse, did you feel a difference, etc. And so in that one, we concluded that the minimal latency that a musician can detect is 7 milliseconds, which is incredibly low. But out of that, we also had the side effect that we discovered that it is true what you say, Dario. It is the latency which is the stress generating, not the fact that there is a video or whatever, but the delay. The more delay you get, the more tired you are. And it's because it generates stress. Yeah. Then I stop here because I'm not a doctor, I'm not a physiologist, but this is for sure true. Well, this is a reason, for example, for a number of universities which decided to use LoRa for teaching a normal lesson and not music. Because the student can resist for 4 hours instead of 1 hour if they need to interact because of that, because they are less tired.
Yeah, this important thing, and also the importance of the research done by other experts in different areas than music and perhaps technology, as we are here, about getting this hard data. And I'm sure there is already, and we just have to get acquainted with it and also detect the areas where we need to know more. At least one thing is for clear, that we do have more access to empirical data now, since there is more people doing these kind of things. And of course, everything new is demanding, and when people get acquainted, it's easier. Anyway, now we are past our group time, but we will do the last group, Matti's group, in a very concise manner. Go ahead, Matti.
Yes, thank you. Our work group didn't discuss about synchronous studies, merely about asynchronous and how to support music making with merely in the elementary or secondary level or something like that, not on not on professionals or students who will graduate as professionals. So in our group there were three participants from teacher training area and one from professional musicians training area, and we went through. I have collected list of that kind of software which are used within a browser, and thus they are available for everyone, and also they are free. You can start whenever you want, and we had so this was our title, and zero cost music making, and I divided those applications. There are about 30 of them, and I got a few more links from Sandrine. I will add them to this list, and I will give in chat the address where you can pick up this list and presentation if you are interested in. We started from very simple things, and then we had some educational possibilities, and then we have some techno things, and then we had some grid making things, and then we had some ambience things, and okay, weekend is coming, so there was also software for your weekend activities, so you can be a DJ and be the hero of the weekend. And then, of course, notation. And then some kind of sequencing software. And in the end, we also discuss about practical applications, how to use Soundtrap or BandLab in music making. Every one of these applications are not aimed to professional musicians. No one in a studio would like to use BandLab. No one would like to use in notation, say, NoteWrite. But for educational needs, this is quite fine. And if you want to check the list, my first advice is don't do it now because I'd like to add the Sandrine's comment there, but please, some sunny day, let's say in the beginning of next week, the final version will be in address. One moment. It's like this. Yep. Go to my homepage /newtime2.
Great.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you, Matti. Now I take the liberty of not giving room for any more questions, since we are running not out of time, but just in time. And we will, of course, send all the materials to you. And as a wrap-up, I really very much want to thank you all for joining, and also send my regards to those who have been here, so the people you know that had to leave earlier. It has been a great day and great experience to learn and hear about all these different things that you have been making. All the materials will be then sent to you as soon as they are ready, and we will be sending a questionnaire, quite easy one to answer as soon as possible for you. Then you can evaluate this conference in more detail and perhaps more critically than here in front of us by the end of the day, when we are all quite happy about it. Just to remind about the New Time Music 2.0 project, that there is kind of two activities that we are doing here. One is these kind of conferences, and of course in real life conferences too will be if those come possible later. But as Timo mentioned earlier about these wizard visits, they are called that kind of a name because of funding application purposes. It was catchy name, but the idea is that since there's so many different things that someone knows better than the other ones, that we will have funding for these wizard visits. People who know something can come to you or contact you or your organization and help you with those things. And these wizards can be anyone from Nordpol's network organizations. This is Nordpol's funded program, so that's a kind of a demand. But we will ask about this in the questionnaire too, but that's just to mention so that you don't get scared about this name of these wizards. You can either be yourself a wizard or you can get a wizard to visit you, and that's something that we want to do also in real life way as soon as it's possible. For wrapping up this conference, I would like to share one more video which I think suits well for this occasion, since it is part of our graduation ceremony, the end of it. In Finland, I don't know about other countries, I think you know the tune, but this is a hymn that is sung on every school ending party, and it is known by every Finnish person, regardless of the religious background. And due to the circumstances, we didn't have a graduation party. We only had not only, but we had a graduation video with speech and this kind of stuff, very high, how to say, very pompous speeches, and also the ending hymn was part of it. It was supposed to be filmed and recorded under a blooming apple tree outside to celebrate the summer, but Finnish summer showed its true nature, and it started to rain, so it's shooted inside our auditorium lobby, and you can hear the rain in the beginning. I hope I can now share it in a way that it gets properly shown. I hope so. Let's see. And with this music, I would like to wish you all very good start of the summer, end of the academic year, and hopefully better next year with not that many unforeseen changes, and good health to you all. I think now I try sharing. You probably see something already. Okay, with these notes, with these words, have a very nice summer, and hopefully we see you many times again.
You too.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.
Bye. Thank you.